Okay, so you have a property here on the Emerald Coast between, let's say, Pensacola to Panama City Beach, and it came off the market, and you're like, what do I do now? I know it can be frustrating when you don't sell a property the first time around, but I have had a lot of experience taking over listings and kind of giving my input into what needs to happen for a property to sell. So I'm going to walk you through a listing real quick and kind of show you exactly what that process looks like. So easy enough. So I pull up the multiple listing service, which is exactly what you see in front of you. And I pull up all the expired and canceled listings. Now that means if it expired, it means that the listing agent had it listed for, let's say, 6 months, and it didn't sell in that time frame, and the listing agent did not renew that contract with that owner to keep it on the market. So some things can happen with that. Maybe the price was high, maybe location was bad. There's just a lot of different things that can happen. My point to this video today is to just give you some education in what I do whenever a seller calls me and says, hey Kurt, my property didn't sell the first time. I saw you online and I just want to, get your 2 cents on what you think we can do that's different from the last guy. Cool. All right. So let's take a look at this property right in front of us. We got 274 Harmon Avenue, Santa Rosa Beach. So just from the outside, this picture looks wonderful. This is a great property. If I was standing in the yard right now, I would think this is a very nice looking house. Nothing, doesn't look run down. There doesn't look like any issues. The grass is extremely good. I mean, that's one thing that I really look at is how the grass is doing. So the grass looks great. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that whenever you're a buyer, because sellers have to get into this mindset, think about what a buyer is going to look like, what a buyer is going to think. I know this is your property. This is your home. You're very emotionally about it. You're attached to it. Trust me. I mean, I'm the same way with my house. I don't like when people tell me that, hey, you're going to pressure wash and all this stuff, but it's part of the process. So don't take it in a negative light. This is just part of the process. So right here, right off the bat, I can see some things, right here. We're looking very sparse on our landscaping. That is something that buyers see firsthand. They come up to the house. It's the first thing they see. It's their first impression, right? Whenever you go on a date and you want to impress somebody, you look good. You do your hair, you shave maybe a little bit. You get your nice, suit on, whatever it is. You want to impress that other person. So this is kind of like that. It's like a first date. So we want to really put our best foot forward. So in this situation, if the seller would have called me and said, hey, Kurt, we tried to do this. It didn't work out. Let's go ahead and let's figure out what we need to do to sell. I would go ahead and say, hey, number one, we need to go ahead and get this landscaping taken care of. That's going to be one of the biggest things that is going to make a big difference is to get landscaping around this house. And I'm not talking about let's spend $10,000. My landscapers, usually it's between like $200 and maybe $1,000 to get some tropical plants in there, to get some pine straw, get some bushes, get some flowers, to get things going in there to where it gives it a really good, nice vibe. And when the buyer walks up, they're like, wow, this is amazing. Another thing that I probably would have recommended that a lot of homeowners are doing right now is painting. Now, this house isn't terrible. It doesn't look ridiculous, by any means. It's a pretty house. And yet, I think that a lot of times people are going with white. People want to see the white. They want to have some contrast. So maybe you paint the house white. Maybe you paint the shutters a darker color and the posts a darker color. Your maximum is really 3 different colors. So you got a roof color, you've got, the exterior wall colors, and you got the shutters. Those are really the only 3 things that I would recommend painting. And I might paint the door a dark color too. Keep the garage door, you could probably keep it white or you could paint it dark. I like lighter garage doors. That's just kind of my style, but completely up to you. So moving forward into this house, again, this is not acceptable. If you're going to sell this house, this is a $700,000 listing. Put a couple thousand into your landscaping. It's not a big deal. And so that'll give you a lot of good first impression go-tos. And something the listing agent did that's kind of interesting is you got a couple pictures of the front of the house, and then you go to the front door. I always say put the best foot forward, and maybe this is the best foot for this house is this angle of this property. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. But if your house does have renovation to it, let's say the kitchen's renovated, the bathroom's renovated, it's got an amazing backyard, you got a crazy looking pool, it's awesome, you got a $100,000 pool, that's going to be the main picture for the property. We want people to see like, oh my gosh, this is why I'm buying this. Another thing is, you see over here, there's like some kind of box truck thing in the picture. That needs to be taken out. That needs to be moved. I go knock on the door next door and say, hey, would you mind moving that a little bit out of our picture? Or you change the angle to the other side so where you're not looking at this work truck. People see that and they think, oh, is the guy next door like, is he doing work out of his house? What is this move? Is it a move? Like, what is that? So we want to make sure that they get the good to not great first impression. So another picture from the side, and again, like I talked about, the landscaping is not good. The grass looks beautiful, though. I mean, I could see myself and my son just laying in that grass, playing around in it. Okay, so moving up to the front. So as you can see, it's just a little bit out of style. The door with the glass is a little bit out of style. These windows look older. Obviously, like it just irks me. Concrete, regular concrete. That's not good look. That's not a good look. This should be painted a certain color, probably to match the house. You can also do really cool stuff with this. You could build a deck on top of it if you wanted to do that. You could do pavers on top of it. You see, you've got this nice little, probably 3 to 4 inch step up to the door frame. So if you wanted to do like what I love when people do is they'll have a nice big white house. Usually it's hardy board, and around the bottom they do the brick. You could do a brick front patio, and it would just change the whole feeling of this thing. Now you've got a front porch swing. You're sipping sweet tea, you're hanging out, you're relaxing. And again, if this was all painted white with the darker shutters, with maybe a dark door, completely change the whole vibe. Another thing that kills me on these, guys, come on, you got to pressure wash your house. It's like selling your car, like selling anything else. If you're going to sell your car, you vacuum it out, you wash it, you make sure it's looking real good before you put it on the market, right? The cars that people put on the market, there's Cheetos in the seat, and there's stuff in the back. It's like, it looks like junk. Nobody wants to buy that. So, moving on. This is an okay picture. This just shows you the square footage of the house. I don't need to see that on the 4th picture in on the listing. This should be at the very end, if it's even that. Most people can see whenever they go to the details. This is what pops up on Zillow and everything else, that it's 5-bedroom, 4.5 bath, 1997 is whenever it was built, 3,200 square foot. Okay, I don't need to really see this picture right here. That should be way towards the back. This is terrible. This is an overhead shot of, this is probably inaccurate. The only way to really tell where the boundary lines are is by a survey, and this is basically taken off the county website. I wouldn't even have this in my listing, because if this is inaccurate and I'm throwing it up and I'm saying this is where the property line is and that's not correct, I can be held liable. So if we have a survey, that's whenever we put the survey as a document. They can look at it online and they can see if that survey has any issues, if there's any fences or whatever that are causing any issues. All right, so this is the first picture that they have. I'm assuming this is where you walk into from the front door. There's just a lot going on here. There's a lot to unpack. So whenever you're talking colors, kind of like what I talked about on the outside, it's the rule of 3, maximum 3. Flooring, I like to have 1 flooring, if at the very most 2 floorings, and that's pushing it. People really like 1 flooring throughout the house. Which might be this type of flooring. I don't know, but this is obviously old school flooring, and you've got a lot of things going on here. So you've got a white ceiling with popcorn. You've got a tan band around the top, and then you've got a dark tan, looks like tan, below that, and then you've got a backer board, and then you've got a more light tan, and then you've got trim, and then you've got the terrible old flooring. So I would always recommend painting the inside of a house, especially because you can see, I'm probably 20 foot away in this picture. I can see scuffs and things on the trim. I can see it on the walls. It all needs to be repainted. So I would obviously recommend this house be repainted. Mirrors need to be taken down. This mirror's dirty. It's just another thing people to look at if they see, oh, the mirror's dirty. Well, what else is dirty? Everything's dirty. And this house kind of looks dirty. So like this grout, if you notice these high traffic areas, there's black stuff in this grout. They probably had a rug over here. This is actually what the grout is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be nice and light and white. I have a man who is amazing. He cleans grout like you've never seen. But this is a This is a perfect example of what you don't want to have as your first impression. Okay, these drapes got to go. Drapes, you take them down. There's like 2 screws in each side. Take them down. Just get rid of them. Don't even think about it. So this could be an issue here. So you walk into this house and you walk into steps. You know, that's kind of an old school thing. You know, some people might have a problem with that. Some people don't. It might be an objection that we have to work with. It might not. So we just don't know. But this is like, I shouldn't be 3 or 4 pictures into this listing and still be in this room. This is, you know, not a good room. We need to move on. Okay, so you see this at the top. It's probably they took down this paper in the other room that has like grapes on it. I get it. You know, took it down, maybe thought, hey, it'll look better than the grapes. No, I probably would have left the grapes, honestly. And I just would have, you know, if we would have gone down the painting route, I would have said, hey, go ahead, let's take it down, let's paint, let's get rid of it all. The fish tank, we got to get rid of it. It's got to go. It's all or nothing. Either put furniture in the house or take furniture completely out. You can see on here too, we got a lot of touch-ups. The touch-ups are obviously what the wall color originally was, and it's faded. So now it doesn't look very good. This is just gross. This grosses me out that this grout isn't clean. Oh, I don't even know what's in that. Okay, so we already talked about this room. Okay, so we got 2 floorings now. And we have a fireplace, which is great, but the mirror needs to go. Guys and gals, light bulbs, okay? You can go to Home Depot and buy like a 30-pack of light bulbs for $10. And you pop them in there, and they're good. If you've got a good, you know, I have like a Go kit in my car that has tools and stuff like that. I just keep a couple light bulbs in there because there's inevitably always light bulbs, right? You can also go to Lowe's. See this thing right here? Most people don't notice this. I notice this. Okay, you got a bracket that's missing off of this plug. Well, number one, someone could stick their finger in this plug that's got exposed wires. So if you're showing the house to a potential buyer and they've got a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, whatever that's running around, and they're sticking their finger into everything, that could be a major issue. Now, as a listing agent, is it my responsibility to go buy plugs that go on outlets? No, it's not. It's not my house. Like, I don't own the real estate, right? Is it the right thing to do? Absolutely. If my sellers need help doing these types of things, I go to Lowe's, I spend $30, I get the plate, I put it on, I put the light bulb in the fan, we're good to go. Okay? Let's keep moving on. They've taken the battery out of the smoke detector, so that's an issue. It was probably beeping, so they took it out completely to shut it up. Now you don't have the ability to know if there is a smoke alarm or an issue going on. Kind of see some discoloring in this ceiling right here, which I would be asking the seller about. And I also see, so this is a drywall seam, and whenever drywall gets wet, that seam can start to show, and usually there's tape that has an issue. So I have a handyman. You know, call them up, say, hey man, I need your help. I got a seam showing on some drywall. I need you to cut it, fix it, patch it, spray it, done. So that would not be part of that would be, as long as there wasn't any issues like a leak or whatever that needed to be fixed, it was just, it's old. We would get that squared away. You're talking maybe $50. Let's move on. Okay, again, something's going on here. Look up here. Look what's in this corner. Let me move my head a little bit. I don't know what's going on here. I would need to go in this house and check it out more, but it looks like something's going on. Either a terrible paint job or I don't know what that is, but I would have to investigate that. Obviously this needs to be painted. This house needs a deep clean too. Like, look at how these are little fingerprints from kids or people touching the door. Instead of grabbing the doorknob, they're grabbing the door, and you know, you're talking about a Mr. Clean magic eraser, okay? 10 seconds, a cleaning company can wipe that off with a Mr. Clean magic eraser. Done. Perfect. Which I always recommend a deep clean before any of my properties go on the market. Kitchen. Okay. This little guy. Gotta go. Curtains. Gotta go. Light bulbs. Gotta get replaced. This is a little knee wall. So a couple things. If there is a budget for renovations with the seller beforehand, this whole room should be white. These cabinets should be white. They would look totally different. Stainless steel appliances. I mean, you're talking maybe $4,000 for new appliances. To cut this knee wall down, which we do all the time, you're talking maybe $300-400. Then you get new countertops. You're talking $7,000 for countertops, which is it's expensive, but it's a big deal. If you're going to put money into a house, the number one place to put it is in the kitchen. Number 2 is the master bathroom. Number 3 is the living room. So, and I mean, if you got the budget, floors and everything else, but if you don't, then you need to stick with what you can work with. But like I said, paint is pretty simple. If you don't want to pay somebody to do it, you can go buy the paint and you can do it yourself. It's not difficult. All right, let's move through these quickly. I mean, come on, guys. The paint is just atrocious. That's just killing me right here. I can't spend any more time in this kitchen. All right, so they got a stainless steel stove. All they need to do is get a stainless steel fridge. I don't like that this doesn't have a box. I would probably recommend to the seller that this gets boxed in and we add trim around the top. You can get crown trim for really cheap, and the painter can paint it, makes it look really good. And then they can add a cabinet, a box cabinet to the fridge and just make it nice and easy and make it nice and clean and closed. This is weird to have a plug in the middle of the kitchen floor. I probably would change that with something because it's a tripping hazard, and you're in a wet space, so you really don't want water to mix with the electrical on the floor in case the dishwasher floods or whatever. I would need to know more about that, why that plug's in the middle of the floor. Okay. Normal bedrooms, all good. Like I said, paint. It's got nice hardwoods. And then we're back to the outside. So that was it. So that's the house. Those are my recommendations. As you can see, this isn't rocket science, but what's interesting is that I wonder if this listing agent had a conversation with the seller and just said, hey, look, this is what it's going to take to sell the house, because you have to set those expectations. And a lot of times I'm turning down listings because people do not want to do the work that it's going to take to get them the price they want. At $700,000, people, would be expecting a lot, quite frankly. And unless there is something that makes this house stand out that people are buying because of it, let's say it's a premium location. Let's say it's on the water. Let's say it is, a huge lot, whatever that is. If those things aren't in the mix and it's just like, hey, you're buying this house in a normal lot, normal subdivision, normal area, seems like maybe this was needing a little extra attention. Now, another thing you can look at if you're a buyer's agent is you can always go to the detail section and you can look at what happened. 46 days on the market, that's not a long time. So it's interesting that this property expired in 46 days because normally listing agreements are 6 months long. So I would never sign a 45-day listing agreement or 30-day listing agreement because it's too much work that I have to put in to prep a property to give me 30 days. Because right now we're at 6 months, and it's the average time to sell a property. We're at 6 months worth of inventory, which means if you list your house right now and no other houses came on the market, which we kind of know houses are going to come on the market, it would take you on average 6 months to sell. Because we're in a balanced market right now. And if you want more detail on that, more data, I can provide it to you, no worries at all. So I just wanted to walk you through this again and show you exactly what it looks like to have someone like me come to a property, give you the lowdown. I'm going to give you the exact truth. You're probably not going to like it. I wouldn't like it if somebody told me I had to paint my whole house either. But if I had a price in mind and it was high, I would say, hey man, what's it going to take? Give me the best chance. It's not a guarantee, but it's a chance, right? Like we're increasing our chances of being better than the other guys. And that's what real estate is. It's not that you have to have the best house in town. You just have to be better than the competition that's currently on the market. So whenever I do go to a listing appointment or I do a Zoom call with a client, a lot of times I'm doing a Zoom call, I'll let them know, hey, let's look at the competition. Let's pull up what's over here in this area and see exactly what we're competing with. And if everything else on the market is pretty similar, where it's like, hey, it all needs to be painted, it all needs to be renovated, it all looks kind of like this, and we're in the ballpark, we could try. You could try. Now, do you want to give yourself the best chance? Absolutely. So that's one thing that I always recommend. And then canceled. So this is another interesting thing. So I'm pulling up cancels and expired. So the difference between a canceled and an expired listing is a canceled listing means that the sellers have decided not to continue the relationship with the listing agent. They've canceled it. They canceled the contract. And they're moving on to either completely take it off the market or they're going to hire a new agent to help them sell it. Now, I don't know the specifics in every situation on all these canceleds. An expired listing, very simple. They had a contract with the listing agent. Hey, we would like you to sell this property for, X amount. You got 6 months. If you don't do it, then the contract expires and it's off the market. So, and one thing I always tell my sellers, because they always say, when do we list? When do we sell? When do we do this? It all depends. Every property is different. Every property has to have the TLC done to it, typically. It has to have a little bit of maintenance done to it, typically. If it's been a rental, there's probably been a lot of wear and tear on it. It might need some lipstick. So that's not an issue. And if you live out of town and you're like, man, I don't know anybody, this is just a difficult process. I'm working with my client right now who lives in Texas. We just did an interior paint job. We're changing locks. We're doing all kinds of stuff. We're getting new furniture. And I'm just running the show. So if you need somebody like that who can do coordination on this type of stuff, I don't mind doing it at all. I like to have a relationship with my clients to where they know they can call me and they can get help. Hey, Kurt, we need a flooring guy. Who you got? We need a tile guy. We need a cabinet guy. We need a pest control guy. We need a painter. This is easy stuff that I can coordinate for you that takes a phone call. A lot of agents are like, I don't want to deal with it. It's a phone call. Like, come on. So if you're interested in something like that, I'll leave a little link to my website. You can see more about me, and you can also fill out a little form to where I can follow up with you. And if you have any questions, you can type them in the little form. Some people aren't form people. That's great. Call me, text me, however you want to chat. We'll get together. But thanks for checking out this video.